Welcome back to Become a Calm Mama. I'm your host. I'm Darlene Childress. And today on the podcast, I wanted to talk about how to help your kids regulate their nervous system and how to help your kids either get calm or stay calm. And I've been thinking a lot about this concept of pre-regulation. We think about dysregulation and how that's a period of time where your child's nervous system is firing in a way that they're somewhat out of control of. That dysregulation is, we see that when we see a kid, kicking, screaming, punching, yelling at you, saying really crazy things, just really out of bounds. And you can actually see it within their body that they're sort of out of control. And a lot of times when that happens as the parent, we want to control that behavior. We want it to fix it, change it, stop it, solve it. We want to get in there and get them to stop. And a lot of times we'll use a raised voice or a threat or maybe we try to bribe them or something like that, because we're trying to manipulate that emotion in order to get your kid back to a calm parasympathetic nervous system response. So we have that activated sympathetic nervous system response where you are in a state of arousal. And what we want is to get that body from fight and flight to what sometimes is called rest and digest. Okay. So of course, the best strategy to handle a big feeling cycle or a moment where your kids have a lot of emotion or intensity, or you're just like, what the heck is going on here? Compassion and narrating and using that connection tool is a very useful tool. Kind of like what I talked about last week with Sarah, how you can use her align method, which is just kind of really labeling and looking at the triggers that is happening, narrating the circumstances, and then giving your kids some tools to help them calm their nervous system. Same as the connection tool. The connection tool is 3 parts: narrate, name, now what? Narrating the situation, narrating the behaviors that you see. So you're like, I see that you are screaming, or I hear you're really yelling very loudly, and then naming that emotion, saying, I wonder if you're feeling very overwhelmed right now. Now that is kind of, do you feel sad, right? Kind of labeling that emotion. That's a huge part of connection, connected parenting, compassionate parenting is name it to tame it, right? Labeling emotion, identifying emotion. But then we have to go through and help our kids figure out what to do with that emotion. And that's oftentimes where we get stuck. And so in the connection tool, narrate, name, now what? Now what is really about helping give our kids strategies to help them cope or communicate better with their big feelings. So one of the best ways that all of us, every human, has at their disposal at all times is to move your body. When I talk about the 3 R's of regulation, rhythm, relationship, and reward, rhythm is really about doing something with your body intentionally to calm or soothe it. When I teach you the pause break and we talk about resetting your body, right? Pause, reset. Resetting your body is a lot of times about moving your body intentionally, moving your body in a way that has a soothing effect on you. So that can be, jumping up and down, putting your arms in the air, the shimmy shake, right? We have these strategies that we can do, expanding our arms really wide and, tick-tocking your arms, like one arm goes up and one arm goes down and just kind of tick-tocking. Any sort of intentional movement with rhythm can be very balancing. Obviously, being in relationship, getting that oxytocin, getting that serotonin from the relationship, from the compassion. Compassion actually calms the nervous system because you don't feel so alone. You're not afraid. You're not in fight flight when you have someone who comes alongside and comes alongside of you and says, you're okay. I've got you. We can deal with this. We can handle this. And you have that leadership energy, that self energy that you're approaching your kids with. Then the other one is reward. that's like kind of the dopamine uptake, like giving a little task or having a kid do something. You can't do that right in the middle of a big feeling cycle, but you can kind of catch a big feeling cycle before the train leaves the station. And you might be like, okay, I want to talk to you about that, but why don't you go ahead and take your shoes and put them in the shoe bin and come right back. Let's see how fast you can do it. So sometimes we can intercept or interrupt that nervous system, that big feeling cycle, by giving a little task. Sometimes limits can do that too, by saying to our kids, I'm happy to listen to you as long as you stop hitting me, or I'm happy to listen to you as long as you stop screaming, or I can only listen to kids who are using their best voice. I can't hear you when you use that voice. So we can kind of test whether they're going to go crazy pants and into a big feeling cycle by putting a limit or giving a boundary. And then that brain has to do some thinking, and it can kind of shift from that limbic, the middle of the brain, the emotional response, into a little bit more self-contained, logical, practical response. So you're kind of playing with the nervous system with your kids when you're helping them calm their bodies, either before they really lose their nervous, they have their big feeling cycle, they have their meltdown, or while you're helping coach them through the big feeling cycle. Now, a lot of times you really just need to wait it out. Some kids, big feeling cycles might last 30 minutes. It just depends on how much dysregulation they've had, how much capacity that they've been living in this like buzzy space, and now it's popped, and now you're like, okay, the flood has come through. I'm using so many mixed metaphors here, but you get the point. So moving your body is a way to calm the nervous system, talking about it. Right? Letting your kids, tell me more about why you're so mad. Tell me more why you don't like your brother. Tell me more about why your teacher is so mean. Tell me more. Actually giving your kids a space to express themselves can be very, very useful in getting them to calm their bodies and move through it. A lot of times when kids are complaining or they're talking about something hard, we want to silver line it. We want to give them perspective. We want to tell them, well, that's not how all kids feel, or you should be grateful actually that you have a nice school. We kind of weaponize gratitude, or we shut down or dismiss their complaints because we're trying to use that moment to teach values or to define their character. And it's not the right time to do that conversation. When a child is at that spot where they're kind of buzzing and, they need to process some emotion, listening can be very helpful. Now, if you don't have the capacity to listen and your kids are under, 5, 7, 8, you can be like, why don't you go tell your stuffed animals that? Why don't you go tell the dog that? You can also, if your kid has like a little device, they can be like, why don't you record that for me and I'll listen to it later. So you can have your kids complain to you, but you don't always have to be participating. Compassionate listening and neutral listening are really effective tools where you just don't really listen to the content. You're just kind of being there as a sounding board while someone processes a thought or a feeling. Now, other activities that kids can do, right, when they have their big feelings is they can show you their feelings. Like, whoa, you seem really mad. Show me how mad you are. Show me with your face, and they go, or show me with your hands how, take this pillow and throw it down as much as you can. Show me how mad you are, or show me how sad you are. Give me the saddest face you can. Now, all of these are invitations for your children. If they're like, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, no problem. We're not trying to control the child. We're offering the child some solutions to help them process and move that negative emotion through. Sometimes, like I said, giving them a task, giving them an activity, just being like, you know what, why don't we go outside for a few minutes? Or if they're outside, like, why don't we go inside? If you're at the park, why don't you sit down with me for a few minutes? Or let's go walk to the water fountain. Just kind of distracting, but not with the intention of having them forget, but just to help the emotion not be so intense. So you're just kind of like, it's okay. Why don't we take a minute? You come with me. You're not in trouble. Nothing's wrong. But let's just like walk and move our body, and you can tell me more what's going on. We'll go get some water. We'll come back. So kind of allowing some time for them to pause and reset is really helpful. The other thing is just realizing that thoughts and feelings are like the weather and they always pass. And if you can know that and hold space and hold leadership around the fact that your child's not always going to hate their brother or always be in a bad mood. If you can just be like, you know what? You're in a bad mood right now. You're grumpy. You don't like your chicken nuggets that you ordered. It's fine. Don't eat them. Eat them. It's okay. We'll figure this out later. I know you're going to feel okay in a little bit. Having some compassion and giving some perspective and some permission for those feelings to just live and be. Oftentimes, the person that you're coaching or you're doing that with, the child, will be like, it's fine, I'll just eat them. Or if they're a toddler or young, they can then say, they'll just get distracted, right? You just kind of go, it's okay, eat it or don't eat it, we'll figure this out. You can have something later, whatever. And then they're like, oh, and then all of a sudden they'll start eating. You're like, what the heck just happened? And it really is the nervous system coming back online. Try not to be like, a minute ago, you said you didn't like those chicken nuggets and now you like them. Like, you don't need to be petty. You don't need to be arguing with your kids. It's not helpful. It doesn't help you as a parent. It doesn't teach your kids any lessons either. Like, unfortunately, it's just a way of relating that creates more problems than it's worth. I'll tell you that. Okay, so that's kind of in the moment strategies. I've talked about those on the podcast. Now I want to talk about pre-regulation. This idea of how to keep your kids calm in advance. So we talk about preview, how I have that tool where you can walk a kid through a situation that might come up, their sibling's birthday party, walking them through the circumstances. Your sibling is going to have a birthday party. They're going to have their friends over. They're going to get presents. Everyone is going to say happy birthday. They're going to give hugs. And you might feel really sad. You might feel lonely. You might feel jealous. Those feelings are totally normal and okay. But let's talk about what you're going to do with those feelings. When those come up, let's make a plan. Do you want to come to me? Do you want to go sit by yourself? Do you want to have, a special toy that you're playing with? So you problem solve. Do you want to have some coloring set out? Do you want to have a special rock in your pocket that you rub on? So you're giving your children pre-strategies for how to cope with circumstances. So now, how can we bring these pre-regulation strategies into your family, into your routine? Let me tell you how this worked for me. So when my younger son went to kindergarten, he was quite overwhelmed. It was a very sensory rich environment. So there was like snack every day and the kids all participated and there was a lot of costumes and it was a beautiful kindergarten experience, just everything that you want in a play-based experience. But for him, having sensory sensitivities, it was a very overwhelming environment for him. And school in general had been, throughout elementary school, a bit overwhelming. So he might shut down and go hypo-aroused, like he might get dysregulated and become disconnected from the class. He might act those feelings out by, sometimes he could be a little belligerent, even like as a 6-year-old, like, I don't want to do this. I don't like it, which he's using his words. But really the issue was that he was overwhelmed. So it's funny, what I started to do just instinctively is that I felt like if he could get a sense of his body in time and space before school, that he would have more success at school. So what we did was I always walked in because I wanted to have that transition, those eyeball times, and delivering the most emotionally regulated person that I could to school. We would walk in and, have some connection time either on the yard or just at that transition. Some schools let you do that. Some schools don't. But anytime that you can kind of move your body alongside your kids is helpful. Okay, so I would walk him in and he wouldn't immediately engage with the friends. And those were days I could tell he was like a little bit overwhelmed. So we started to do this little game where it was almost like Simon Says, but without saying Simon Says. And I would do a pattern where I would like clap 2 times, and then he'd have to clap back to me 2 times with the same rhythm. And then I would like clap, clap, stomp. And then he'd go clap, clap, stomp. And then I'd stomp, stomp, clap. And he'd go stomp, stomp, clap. He was in kindergarten. He's 5 or 6 years old. I would go, okay, let's like hop 3 times. Can you hop 3 times? Pop, pop, pop. And then he'd pop, 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 right? So in this is thing I was doing, I was just making it up, but I was regulating his nervous system. I was pre-regulating it. It was starting to go offline, and I was offering him a way to get back online and helping him with rhythm, with relationship, and a little bit of reward. So I'd say like, how high can you jump? Can you do it faster? So I'd give a little bit of that dopamine. Ooh, good job. That was really fast. Okay, let's go. Sometimes I would have him put his hands on my hands and I'd say, push me over, push me over. Now he's not 11, okay, when I'm doing this, because an 11-year-old might actually push you over. But little kids under 7, under 8, you're bigger than them for the most part. So you're pushing, they're pushing on you. Now I'm doing this not when he's super activated, not when he's in the middle of a big feeling cycle. I'm doing this to prevent one. I'm doing this to calm his nervous system, to get him to be in a space where he is feeling like he's in control of his environment and in control of his body. So there's a lot of different really amazing activities that you can bring into your life that just kind of pre-regulate your kids. Another one I noticed with this son is that if I like smushed him up with compression, like covered him in a blanket and kind of like went on top of him, like, I'm gonna get you, all of this was like under 7, under 8, like from 3 years old through 3rd grade, he was willing to do these things, which is a lot of years when they have those big feeling cycles. And if I built that into our morning where I had a little bit of time, or he had this giant stuffed animal that was like, I don't know, 5 feet tall, and he would just roll around on it on the carpet. He would, smash it down. And all of that was like his way of calming his nervous system, calming his body. And I want you to be thinking creatively, if you can, about what could calm your kid's body. If you think about a little baby, right? We swaddle them, we shush them, we swing them, we hold them tight, we swaddle them tightly. All that is to create a calming sensation. Part of that soothing that's necessary is that feeling of being safe and cared for and taken care of. So sometimes we want to compress or give our kids an opportunity to be in charge of their bodies. You can do a game like Statue where you have them like moving around. Maybe it's like music, there's music playing, and then you say, okay, freeze, show me a bear. And then they have to go, right? Or you say, freeze, show me a giraffe. Freeze, show me downward dog if they know any yoga poses. Freeze, show me cobra, right? So you can be having them do their body, manipulate their body, moving it, stopping it, and then having a little bit of gameplay there. So I want you to start thinking about all sorts of different ways that you can add things in your life that will help your kids stay calm or become calm. Now, when I had Alicia Grogan on, we talked about all of the different sensory activities. That was episode 170, and it came out in April. And I love Alicia's work called Your Kid's Table, and it's all about teaching you sensory activities. And she has a really good downloadable that you can get that has 25 different ideas. I also have that in my workbook. If you are part of my programs, you have that as well. So I'm going to go through a bunch of them just to help you get an idea of activities that you can bring into your life. So one is just jumping, right? Jumping can be to a beat, like singing, like, 1, 2, 3, or a song, or counting or something, or doing the ABCs while you're jumping on a trampoline or a couch or a bed, if that's okay, if it feels safe. That can be very regulating. Putting a pile of pillows on the ground and having them climb over those pillows and jump into those pillows can be really calming. Now, this is when you have a kid who has maybe if they're really, really wild, sometimes we don't want to do more wild things. if they're very active and they have a lot of energy, sometimes we want to have that energy burn out, but other times we want to contain that energy. So instead of jumping, you might have them balance on one foot and control their body. Like, can you balance on your foot for 20 seconds? Can you switch sides? Can you jump slowly? Right? So you're kind of manipulating to see, how can I burn through some of this energy from some of this adrenaline without activating them even more? So you're really going to be learning about what works for your kid and what not. My other son, he would not like to be wrapped up in a blanket and contained. That would be very overwhelming to him. Instead, he liked it when there was like races, like, okay, race to the end of the side driveway and come back. Or before he got into the car before school, I would say, okay, let's do like 3 rounds of head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Okay, ready? And then he would like it if it was a little bit not so contained, no compression for him. Climbing can be good, like being on a set of stairs, like go up and down the stairs 5 times. Go show me, or how fast can you do it? Getting wrapped up tight in a blanket like a burrito is good for compression, for moving. I like to roll a burrito up and down like a little kid in a blanket, kind of roll them so they get that full vestibular movement. Pushing or pulling can be really good, like a heavy wagon or a laundry basket full of toys even. It doesn't have to be super heavy. My older son really liked doing that kind of stuff. Swinging was huge for both of them. We had a swing set. We also had a trampoline. So I would have my boys do these activities throughout the day, almost intentionally. I'd say, okay, like it's trampoline time, or it's, swing time, and sandbox time. It's time for races on the scooter in the driveway or in the, in the street. If we went to the park, I would say like, okay, I want you guys to we're going to race, and how fast can you go up and down the stairs? I'm going to count. When we were in the swimming pool, there was always counting games, always me counting and tracking, because when you are doing an activity that you're trying to beat your time, you're in control of your nervous system. You're kind of manipulating your own energy. So those are really helpful. So swinging, pulling, pushing. Animal walks are fun. You can have your kid slither like a snake, walk like a bear, crawl like a crab, soar like a bird, leap like a frog, hop like a bunny. And so if I was taking my kids to go to bed and they started to act dysregulated, I'd say, do you want to walk like a regular person, or do you want to hop to the bathroom or wherever we were going? And then they would be like looking at me funny. And I'd say, I'm going to hop. What are you going to do? Are you going to hop, or are you going to crawl? And then they start giggling, and then they would crawl and I would hop. So I know it takes a lot of energy to be playful, but it also takes a lot of energy to drag kids into the bathtub and get angry with them and yell at them, and all that's also time consuming and draining. So the more fun you can have with this stuff, the better. Now, some kids need to use their mouth, so chew toys, even for older kids, or necklaces. Lincoln, my older one, he would eat his shirt like throughout kindergarten, and that was a good sign to me that he was very stressed. If his shirt came out wet, I was like, oh, this kid has been struggling today. And then we started to have different chewing necklaces. Now, some schools don't let you have those things, so I might have him do that on the way to school. Chew on a straw or chew on a toothpick or something as he got a little older. And he still has strategies like that he likes to do. Like he will chew on a toothpick. And he bit his nails. We had to get him to stop biting his nails. And so we taught him how to, use his mouth for other things. Obviously doing like finger paint is great, or playing in sand or rice or birdseed, like having kind of a sensory area in your home. I call that like a calm down basket. Some people call it a calm down corner, big feeling basket. It's really where you have all this stuff stored. So blowing bubbles is, helpful. As they get a little older, chewing gum can be really calming. The 5-4-3-2-1 method that can help connect us and ground us and balance our nervous system. Sarah mentioned it last week in the podcast, so I wanted to walk us through what that is. So it's like 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell and 1 thing you can taste, even if it's just your own saliva. So having a kid kind of play, I Spy is kind of good for this. Like if you think about all those preschool games, they're very good because they teach kids how to be in control of their body. Red light, green light, hands and shoulders, knees and toes, Simon Says, I Spy, right? All those little games are really helpful for kids to learn how to, manage their emotions and manage their bodies. Sometimes changing the light in the room or darkening it, or if you have a lava lamp or you have a fish tank or something like that, having your kids or going in the dark, like making a fort, right? And having them be in the dark. That's so fun for kids. And it can actually help their eyes adjust differently and things like that. Playing music, having a dance party, laying under a weighted blanket, tossing a ball back and forth, taking a heavy ball and pushing it against your belly, like a beach ball, pushing it against your belly and then pushing against the wall and just kind of pressing on it can be very regulating. Creating a silent space is also soothing, right? Like a reading corner, or maybe their bed in their room is a sanctuary where they get to go and settle down and they can read, or they can bring some small toys to their bed and they can calm themselves there. And teaching your kids a couple of yoga poses is fun. Like I said earlier, teaching them how to do mountain pose, just standing up really straight and strong and looking out and being as still as they can. Teaching them cat, cow, tree, balancing on one leg. Those ideas are so, so helpful. So I want you to be thinking about how to bring this stuff into your family, especially during transitions. Like if you had a couple of small ideas in your mind for the morning that help to calm your kids, maybe it's a small game, or you play ball for a minute, or, you bike ride to school or walking to school. All those things are very calming. Or you have a special song you play and everybody dances, or you light a candle and everyone sets an intention for the day and then you blow it out. Anything that you do rhythmically, ritually, that is like part of your lifestyle will help keep your kids pretty calm. So thinking about delivering the most emotionally regulated human you can to school, adding in some of these activities in your day. Right after school is helpful. Before bed is helpful. Before doing homework is helpful. And also when you start to see sibling conflict happening or tension or a lot of complaining, that's probably an indication that the person needs a little bit of soothing, a little bit of support, and some ideas to move their body. Now, I hope these have been helpful. And if you have questions, you can tag me on Instagram and just DM me. I don't get a ton of DMs, so it's not like you're going to overwhelm me. You just ask me like, hey, here's my kid's behavior. Do you have any ideas? And I'll throw some out there for you. And your comment, I always post on Instagram every time I have a podcast episode. There's a post. You can go read that. And then also you can comment there and help me know what kinds of activities you've tried or if you need some ideas. Happy to share any of that. And if you want to work with me one-on-one, we don't have the Calm Mama Club anymore, but I still do have private coaching. We have 6 weeks where you can work with me one-on-one privately, and we'll just dial in your kids' sensory overwhelm and what works for them and what works for you, and how to build all this rhythm in, and how to calm your mornings and your afternoons and your nights, how to make dinner simpler, like everything that you wish someone could help you do, or like the things you ask ChatGPT to do. Maybe you want to talk to a human about it. That would be great for you to talk to me. So I'd be happy to do that with you. And yeah, I hope you implement just 1 or 2 of these this week for yourself and for your kids. It'd be a huge, huge benefit to keeping your family calm. All right, Mama, I will talk to you next time. Hey Mama, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, I want to encourage you to do 2 things. The first is go to my website, calmmamacoaching.com, and get a copy of the Stop Yelling cheat sheet. You'll get a step-by-step breakdown of the most important tool I teach, which is the pause break. And you'll also get 40 ideas to reset your body and balance your nervous system so you don't have to yell at your kids. You can get a copy of that again at my website, calmmamacoaching.com/stop yelling. The other thing I'd love for you to do is go to Apple Podcasts and rate and review this podcast so that other moms can discover empowering and helpful, practical parenting strategies just like you did today. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. It means a lot to be in your ear every week and to support you on your parenting journey.